There he is.
Yes.
Okay, Damon.
Yes.
With a good friend.
Yeah, I'm here with Olivia Gantz-Turner, spokesman for National Right to Life Committee, in a busy year, legislative-wise, as well as the upcoming presidential year. Olivia, welcome.
Oh, so nice to be with EWTN's audience again.
And you have a show that's airing right now, What You Say, What...
When They Say, You Say.
When They Say, You Say, airing on EWTN right now. Tell us a little bit about what's on the plate, the calendar at National Right to Life Committee, given legislative work in Congress, Senate, and as well as the upcoming presidential year.
Well, of course, one of the most interesting things that we were just able to do was release a brand new report that is the state of abortion in America today. And it basically looks at where are we legislatively. So we're very excited about this report because obviously we've had 7.5 years of a very aggressive abortion agenda led by President Obama. And in the course of that 7 years, we've actually seen something amazing happen. In spite of that aggressive agenda, we have seen that there is a statistical drop in the number of abortions nationwide of over 4%. That's astounding. And that, we believe, is very strongly, Damon, due to the number of strong pro-life laws that continue to be passed at the state level. Obviously, laws like the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act that's now passed in 12 states is a very, very strong measure of where Americans are on providing real protection to unborn children. Currently, in many states, there's an effort to pass what we call a no dismemberment abortion ban, and that ban would actually stop and protect babies much younger than even the Pain-Capable bill can pass, which are very, very powerful laws. All these laws address what Americans are concerned about. They want to see abortions ended. They want to see the numbers come down. They realize that abortion is really ripping our country apart in many ways. It's destroying the family. It's destroying women like myself who've had abortions. It's creating havoc, and we need to address that. But in spite of the aggressive pressure to do the opposite, we've been successful at National Right to Life and with our state affiliates in seeing more and more legislation pass.
So you're happy both at the state level and the federal level of legislation that you believe has helped to bring that drop abound, and that's certainly legitimate. But we're coming up in the middle of a presidential election year, yes? And
yes,
what's the view from National Right to Life Committee on that?
Well, obviously, for pro-lifers, here we are today in Washington, D.C., in spite of major snowstorms coming our way. And the truth is that we still have to look to November. November is the object goal for us. The presidential elections are the critical moment in this history of America right now on this situation. Abortion will very much be decided within the courts in the next few years. And whoever sits in the White House, elections have consequences, and whoever sits in the White House will control who will decide these pro-life laws that are going to go to the Supreme Court. And it's imperative that people look at the candidates very carefully. There is no single issue more important than abortion. It is the ultimate human rights issue of our time. It is scientifically the truth that babies are babies from the moment of conception, and it is possible to elect someone this year who has a strong pro-life position because we're fortunate. So many candidates running do have a strong pro-life position, and we would be blessed to have an opportunity to have a real pro-life president in the White House for a change.
Wonderful, thank you, Olivia. And what are you seeing in the short term, maybe even the medium term, on both of those fronts, on both the legislative front on the federal side, as well as maybe some things happening around the states, and even a little bit more on the presidential opportunities here?
Well, right now, Congress is debating in the Senate and a bill that would repeal Obamacare and in the process also take away funding from Planned Parenthood. It's a similar measure to what was discussed in the House. This is a measure now addressing the Senate. It's unique to the Senate. It's specially developed for the Senate and some opposition in the Senate to the removal of funds from Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is not the only organization that sells baby parts and is actually using our tax dollars, but Planned Parenthood gets the biggest chunk. And it's important that Americans realize that this is an opportunity to contact their senator and ask them to vote for this particular bill to make sure that we have an opportunity to continue addressing this problem of major abortion agencies like Planned Parenthood continuing to receive our funds through our federal funding programs and tax dollars directly. This is an important moment. Every senator must be contacted. Even if your senator is one of the good guys and you're pretty sure he would vote for this, make sure you call your senator today, tomorrow. Contact them and let them know, Monday morning, right away after the weekend, let them know that you want to see them vote for this effort to repeal Obamacare with the provision that will defund Planned Parenthood. Absolutely important.
Yeah, now the viewers and others who have been paying attention recognize also that the House had a similar success very recently, and President Obama vetoed that. What's your sense in terms of, again, the interweaving of another, Senate, it's a Senate, the House is the House, but the Senate bill passing, and again during this presidential year. Does it go back to your first point about the importance of the who's in all three branches?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you're going to vote for someone, for state representative, for congressman, for senator, for governor, for president, it is imperative that you realize that those elections do shape the direction of these conversations and our legislative capacity to do something practically to save the babies that are dying every day. So right now, this particular effort on the part of the Senate is, yes, a response to the president continuing to push his agenda in the face of enormous opposition around the country to Obamacare itself, which includes so much medical health care rationing. Our big concern with Obamacare, Damon, is that within the construct of Obamacare itself, there are multiple avenues to restrict the access to health care that you or your loved ones may decide is needed. So for the elderly or the vulnerable or the disabled, Obamacare doesn't expand access to health care. Through the need to cut costs, it's going to continue to see rationing go into effect throughout the country. And so Obamacare has to be repealed. But along with that, we have an opportunity in this effort in the Senate to actually address the problem of funding for Planned Parenthood with our tax dollars. So it's extremely important that we communicate directly with our legislators. Legislators need to hear from the people who vote for them. They often tell us, I know I'm also involved in our state pro-life organization, and I hear constantly, we don't hear from pro-lifers. We never hear from pro-lifers. Well, if you're trapped at home on Monday morning, Congress will probably be in session. Call your senator, call their home office, communicate. Communicate is essential.
Yeah, one of the things I love about, coming back to the March for Life, is the diversity in the sense of those who have the call to making abortion unthinkable,
yes.
Those who are looking to do that incremental laws to match at least the public opinion or what people think about abortion in particular, and then those who are working directly in the legislative piece and directly in the political piece. So it's not an either or, but a both and,
yes.
And to look at, as you said, a 4% drop in those time is a chance for us all to look and to say, it is possible. What is possible in terms of changing the hearts, the minds, and the laws of our country.
I want to encourage everybody. I appreciate what you just said, Damon. Folks are always looking for something to do and ways to get involved. And in order to help this momentum take place, these kinds of efforts, and every effort is important, particularly legislative efforts, we've seen that incremental steps like parental involvement laws, informed consent laws, partial birth abortion bans, all of these laws are what has brought down the number of abortions to over 4% drop in the last 7 years. So it's imperative that people get involved and communicate with their legislator. The way to do that, I would advise folks, if they don't know where their National Right to Life state affiliate is, contact the National Right to Life office, go to nrlc.org. nrlc.org, all the information I'm talking about today is available there, and you can find the access to your state affiliate and get involved locally so that you're communicating both with your state legislators, your federal legislators. Do not ever overlook the power of your single voice when it comes to the importance of these processes. They do make a difference. They are waiting to hear from you, and it does count. It really does count.
Olivia Gantz-Turner, spokesman for the National Right to Life Committee. Olivia, thank you so much for your time working on the political element of really what it takes for a culture to change. Hearts, minds, laws, and thank you so much for all the work that you do. Back to you, Doug.
Thank you so much, and it's great to see Olivia. She was just on with Jim and Joy, and she did a wonderful series for us, which you can get through the EWTN Religious Catalog as well with EWTNRC.com for her wonderful program on pro-life work, really dealing with when they say, you say, and we are getting tweets and we're getting Facebook statements and other things, and you can check us out on our Facebook page. You can email us at marchforlife@EWTN.com, marchforlife@EWTN.com. Check our other resources at our website, EWTN.com. And Father, you have something from Facebook that I thought was important for you to read because of your connection with Lourdes.
Yes, and you think about what we were talking about last time about how the end of life can be this beautiful time too. So this is from Claire. She said, our son Patrick Nicholas Ryder respected life as he battled neuroblastoma cancer. Patrick battled cancer from the age of 4.5 to the time he passed away in 2011. At the age of 9, in the last months of his life, of his own accord, Patrick used a relic from Father Silos for healing. Patrick's leg was in pain. He touched the relic to his leg, saying, Jesus, take away the pain. Jesus took away the pain. And Patrick, my husband, and I traveled to France and were able to bathe in the waters of Lourdes. The entire trip, Patrick was pain-free. Wow. He had tremendous faith in God. He lived his life with childlike faith, strength, and joy. And you can find photos of Patrick and his family on EWTN's Facebook page.
That's beautiful, and again,
Yes.
it's those kinds of things to remind us the power of prayer. Also, even Father Silos out of New Orleans was
Yes.
obviously one of the intercessors that people were always praying with in relation to Mother Angelica as well, and for Mother's
Yes.
health. You know.
Yes, he's powerful, and we think about Mother Angelica and her recovery, like the rosary that we have on today, the St. Michael's Chaplet. That was after this major cerebral hemorrhage that she had.
Right.
And we were enlisting people to ask Blessed Silos to intercede for her.
Well, I think about in the case of Mother Angelica, certainly, and Father Groeschel of late great memory.
Yes.
You know, who now there's a situation where neither one of them probably should have survived that initial impact, mother's stroke, his car accident, and even with Groeschel, I mean, they just assumed he would never be able to, ever speak again or be able to recall things, and clearly. He was able to do that. He died for a period of time.
Yes.
A priest prayed him back to life, and you know, we had a couple extra years more with him, and certainly Mother Angelica still being with us and still praying for the network and caring about the network. We have no doubt has had an unbelievable impact on the growth and the spread of the network.
Since Mother's been bedridden and just quietly praying and offering her own sufferings, the network has grown more than its whole history.
Right,
So,
isn't it funny the way God always
power of
works,
prayer.
right? Contraindicated, we would
Yes.
think, right? And we are speaking once again with Teresa Tomeo, who's out there at the March for Life, keeping warm, but having some interesting conversations. Teresa, who do you have for us?
Yes, well, Doug, you know these wonderful men and women from the Silent No More Awareness Campaign, and of course my co-host of our program, The Catholic View for Women, seen every Wednesday evening at 11 p.m. Eastern and Friday mornings at 10:30 Eastern on the EWTN Global Television Network, Janet Marana, who's the co-founder of this amazing ministry, and she's also the executive director of Priests for Life. And Janet, I never get tired of seeing the ladies here in the sense that this is such an important ministry to be out there and to show people that women and men do regret abortion.
That's right. And of course, even in spite of the blizzard and the conditions that are coming down on Washington, we have at least 40 women here and men that are going to speak. And hopefully we'll stay at the Supreme Court as long as we possibly can with the weather conditions, because they want to reach all the other people out there who are hurting. And they can go to the website, abortionandforgiveness.com, put in their zip code, and they can find healing just like these women and men did too.
Over the years that you've been coming here, how many women have come forward seeing the signs, and also men, because the men are holding signs now that say, I regret lost fatherhood. And we're seeing more couples speak together. We're going to be with you at the Supreme Court later in the day. I do hope you stay tuned for the entire day of programming, because that is going to be extremely important for you to hear these women and men giving their testimonies in front of the Supreme Court. But what kind of positive fallout have you seen in terms of other women and men coming to healing through being here at the March for Life and being on EWTN?
Well, first of all, starting with the march, you know, we've had people come up to them while they're standing there, you know, up at the Supreme Court with tears in their eyes and go, it's me too. I had an abortion, and you're the first person I'm telling. You know, as far as EWTN, I have to say God bless EWTN for putting their stories out there, because more and more people are going to ministries like Rachel's Vineyard. They're coming to our website, and we're getting stories of people who are actually changing their mind about abortion when they hear the damage that it caused to these women. Because, you know, they know it's a baby, and they think nothing's going to happen to them, because that's the lie of Planned Parenthood and the abortion clinics. And when they hear the physical and psychological damage that these women suffered for so many years, they said, uh-oh, I don't want to have that happen.
Let's talk about the Planned Parenthood workers or the former workers, because you have someone with us that you want to introduce.
That's right. Well, we have two people here. This is Jules Green.
Hi, thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Your story, how long have you been away from Planned Parenthood, and what brought you out of that industry?
I worked in the abortion industry when I was a young person, from age 18 to 23, and then again when I was married later. Actually, I wish I had a strong conversion while I was still working at the clinic, but I didn't. It wasn't until many years later that I was able to come to the realization that abortion was wrong. It took a long time.
How did it affect you? Do you think you were numb, or what was it that kind of brought you to the realization that that was wrong?
Well, it was actually just hearing about a surrogate who was paid to abort the baby she was carrying only because tests indicated the baby would be born with Down syndrome. And once I heard that story, that was it. I now believed that that was wrong. Children are not commodities to be created and bought and sold and discarded for quality control. And once I could say that abortion was wrong, all abortions.
The house
wrong.
of cards it falls. Now, in
Exactly.
terms of how do we reach out to, for example, the people like you who were once inside or are still inside a Planned Parenthood facility? We have people like Abby Johnson who've come forward and others. I think about 127 former Planned Parenthood workers through 40 Days for Life, or now David B. Wright was on with us earlier. How do we reach them? Because we care about them too. All God's children are precious, and we want them to be with Jesus in heaven, just like we want all of us to be.
I think the most important thing that we need to do as pro-lifers is to remember that the workers, the doctors, they're not evil. It's abortion that's evil. And I think that if we can all keep that in the forefront, we will be reaching out to them as creatures of God as well.
Is there a thing we can say to them? But it's not one thing. It's not one fact. It's not one story. It really, everybody has to come to it on their own, like you did. But how do we approach them if we're outside? What advice would you give if we're with the 40 Days for Life or we're pro-life prayer warrior on the streets?
Well, I would say use the same 4 words you would use when you see the mothers heading in, and that is just let us help you. Let us.
So much. Let me talk to Kevin for a minute, Kevin Burke, because you work in the healing area. That's your area of expertise. And are you seeing more men coming for help?
Yes, we're seeing more and more. In fact, I've heard men who have seen the coverage of the march and the Silent No More Witness on EWTN, and actually that was where the Holy Spirit touched them and called them to healing. So today we're going to have a man giving a testimony who's, against his will, his child was aborted at 24 weeks. It was illegal in his state. The mother traveled to Maryland and had the abortion. He was absolutely devastated and traumatized. He will be with us today to continue his healing and also to witness to his child's death and also to witness to life and call other men to healing and call us to end the madness that is abortion.
And let me just grab a quick word with Nancy Tanner, because Nancy had an abortion at a Planned Parenthood facility and was on my radio show, Catholic Connection, and your testimony, dear, was so powerful. Let me just put your sign down, just so we can see your beautiful face. What does it mean for you to be here every year?
It's so amazing to be here. First of all, the healing continues. When we're forgiven and set free and welcomed back into the church, you're left, though, with that need to continue the healing. And to be in a place like this with other people and having the opportunity to share our stories and to know that the truth can go out there on the airways to let people know abortion hurts women. Planned Parenthood does not give health care. Planned Parenthood hurts women. And I know from my personal stories and from the stories of all these women and all the men and women who have shared, it's something that goes on and on and on. So each year, the opportunity to be here and to give back in some way is really very healing.
And I think there's so much good that's coming out of those undercover videos of Planned Parenthood, but you and I talked about this on the radio, that it's also traumatic, I'm sure, for post-abortive men and women.
Yes, when I first saw the video, I screamed, and it took me back to the day of my abortion. I saw my baby's body parts. As I had my abortion, they were put on a tray right in front of me, and to watch the videos and to see how those parts are commingled. Anyone who's not seen the videos, please take the time to see them. Encourage other people to see them, because it shows the truth of what happens at Planned Parenthood. They coerced me into signing a form that they could dispose of the product of conception any way they wished, and I so wish I hadn't done that. But to see that took me back to that day and makes me more resolved to share the truth with others of what really happens there.
Painful, but also, as you said, it gives you more resolve. And also, I think it's important because then hopefully more women and men will come for healing and join the Silent No More Awareness campaign. Thank you all. And God bless you for your ministry and for your courage and for your strength to be silent no more. Amen. Back to you, Doug and Father.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you very much. And it's always a powerful witness, our good friend Janet Morana, and the work that gets done in really breaking the silence, like they said, and allowing people to talk about something that's been hidden for many, many years. But one of the things, Father, they were talking about as well is God's mercy. And you know, our Holy Father has got the year of mercy. It's a Jubilee year, and everyone's being asked to participate in it. There's holy doors, there's indulgences. And if you want more information about it, you can obviously go to our website, but also Joan Lewis, our Rome Bureau correspondent, has a wonderful new book, A Holy Year in Rome, The Complete Pilgrim's Guide for the Jubilee of Mercy. Joan Lewis, people love Joan. She knows Rome, It's a wonderful book that'll help you, I think, get a better appreciation of this year of mercy and what a Jubilee is all about. And you can always check that out on our EWTNRC.com website or 1-800-854-6316. But I think it's the beginning of the year of mercy. Let's not wait too long to take advantage of that.
And this march is not about demonizing anybody or saying you're evil people. It's actually an invitation to God's mercy.
Right.
You know, we have a Jubilee Door of Mercy at the Shrine of the Blessed Sacrament where I reside, and many people are taking advantage of that. We have an abundance of confessions, even I think this year than over other years. Right. And I thank God for that the Lord is actually bringing people, embracing them to His mercy. And that's what this coverage is about. It's not demonizing anybody.
Right.
It's saying, come to the Lord's mercy, find His forgiveness, find new life in
Right,
Christ.
and we have to remember sometimes ourselves when we get caught up in the hurly-burly, the daily of the battle, that the goal isn't to destroy the enemy, it's to convert the enemy.
Yes.
You know what I mean, so to speak, to take away people who've been basically lied to or basically have had scales put over their eyes and they can't see the truth, as we just heard in that interview. Even pro-life, in my own experience of having something happen and have those scales drop, and suddenly you see the world differently, in a different mindset, and you try to figure out, how did I ever think this way before? But the reality is, you did, and there's other people who are in the same situation who haven't quite been blessed yet, like we might have been by the Lord.
And the best way to conquer an enemy is to make them a friend.
Right.
And that's what the Lord does, you know, that He can bring people from one side of this issue to the other through His light, through His grace, through His mercy. And that's what we want, you know, that we can be united in Christ.
And through prayer. And a good friend of ours is Damon Owens. He's out there at the March for Life with another friend of life. Damon.
We're here with a good friend of the network, good friend of ours, Chris Bell. And Chris running Good Counsel Maternity Homes in New York, in the region there. This is 30 years. This is 30 years.
Entering 31 right now.
Yes. You know, I think one of the things that amazes me, and I think people who hear about your work and how long you've been doing it, and the people that you work with, are the stories within the house. You know, the maternity home itself. It's not just sort of a hotel room. We're talking about a family experience that you're giving. Who and where do they come from?
Well, they come from literally all over. Women who are from out of the country who are in here now and they're pregnant and they need help, and certainly in New York, New Jersey, but literally any woman who can hear us now in the United States can get help by calling 1-800-723-8331. That's Good Counsel's National Helpline. Or go to our website, goodcounselhomes.org, or our Facebook page or Twitter @goodcounselorg, and you know, we can help them. Actually, any pregnant woman in the country, or if anyone just wants to tweet out or like the Facebook page, they can share that every pregnant woman who's in a crisis can get real hope and concrete help, and that's what we need to spread. Everybody listening needs to be a messenger of God's love and His mercy and His real help, and we're part of that family, right?
You know, I think about you a lot, Chris, when I see that spurious but that crazy charge about the crazy pro-lifers who come out and march in January, or they're always trying to stop abortion. You know, why don't you care for the women? And you hear the theme for this year with the March for Life, right? And then you see your work for 30 years, your origin story with Joan, your wife, and Father Grichelle. I mean, that whole thing, you must hear that in a different way, that charge of not caring for women, given what you have been doing for 30 plus years to so many women who've come through your doors.
Well, my wife Joan, as you know, who was active since 1973, she said, truthfully, pro-lifers are always about women. And any woman who needs help, she took women into her home. Her sister did as well. They helped start a maternity home in St. Louis. Today in the United States, there are certainly more than 300 maternity homes, and there are more than 3,000 pregnancy centers. So there's always that hope, and there's always that real concrete help. And when people are saying that, it's just like so many other lies that Planned Parenthood and people who want to promote abortion say to deflect the reality that we are here to help women and children, and not only at birth, because moms can stay in our Good Counsel home for a year, some stay longer so they can go back to school, find a job, and take those next good steps in their lives. And we have daycare in our homes that's free for the moms so they can go out and do that. So people can go to goodcounselhomes.org and like us on Facebook and just share the good news. The good news, and that's what we have to always be about. And it's just never been a true charge.
So here's what I'd like. If you could help our viewers, say someone is watching this for the very first time, you just mentioned 2 or 3 things that are familiar to us in the work that you've been doing. Pregnancy centers, maternity homes. Could you give just a quick primer for people about what is it that these different services, and then in particular, what is it that Good Counsel offers to these women in crisis pregnancy?
So a pregnancy center for any woman who's pregnant and maybe thinking about an abortion or is just alone, she can go in, she can look online, she can Google on her phone. Any woman, pregnant, need help, and hotlines will come up, including Good Counsels. They can go there, they can get material support, they can get free ultrasounds at many of these pregnancy centers, and then they can get steered towards doctors who will help them, even if they have a poor prenatal diagnosis. Let's say a doctor's telling a woman, as she did to one of our moms, Maggie, that the baby she was carrying had a defect in every single cell in his body. And of course, unfortunately, the doctor was encouraging an abortion. And she, when she called us, not knowing anything about Good Counsel, says, I just want to be a good mother. Well, of course, we took her in, and guess what? At the end of that story, the baby had a defect in his heart, but it was correctable surgery. So it was not a defect in every single cell in his body. And when he was a year old, still in our nursery, he was running around like every other 1-year-old. So you couldn't tell the difference. So at maternity homes, women actually come in and live. And even women who might have a mental health or an addiction challenge can come to Good Counsel. We have a special home for women who have those problems as well. And we say at Good Counsel, if you're pregnant and you have a problem, that's your ticket to come in. So that's all you need. Other maternity homes may have some specifications, but if you call our hotline, we will help you. And that's 1-800-723-8331. Or just think of Good Counsel, COUNSEL, homes, with an S at the end of it, .org. And then you can find all the information you need and share that with any woman.
I know I've been in awe of the work that you and Joan and everybody at the Good Counsel have been doing for so many years. But 31 years, this is not sort of a reflexive answer to the charge. This is what has been part of the pro-life movement from really almost the beginning, and now it's really become really just a beautiful witness. Tell us quickly about some of the women. You know what I'd like to know? What about the homes itself, life in the house? Can you give our viewers a sense of what it is in a maternity home?
Well, you get up in the morning and there are kids getting up and need to be fed and diapered and cleaned, and the daycare is in the house, so they get handed off while mom gets dressed and goes back to school or work. And then when the moms come home, I mean, sometimes in the middle of the day it could actually be very quiet, except if, there might be a kid screaming in the nursery, but most of the time it's very quiet. And then when they come home at night, then it's a lot of hustle bustle, like in your house, You come home from work and Melanie's cooking, and, and then 1 or 2 of the moms will cook dinner for the rest. And of course they have to get their babies ready, and they sit down at a table, and you try to get that 1 minute of prayer before meal, and then everything gets passed around and eaten, and then the moms clean up together. They clean up the dishes and clean up the kitchen, and then we usually have life skill programs in the evening. So, and again, if the babies aren't ready to go to bed, then somebody will watch them, so they can learn more about child growth and development, about good job techniques, and about spirituality.
So it sounds a whole lot more than an institute. It sounds like a family.
Exactly. We try to, and the girls say that too. It's not a shelter, it's a home. It's not an institution. It's a family, and that's what we try to share.
Well, God bless you in your work for so many years. Maybe continue into the future. Chris Bell, nothing more to be said. GoodCounselHomes.org.
I tell you, nothing more to be said. I think Chris Bell and his wife do some of the greatest work in the country. I will say I personally support their work, and I think there's a wonderful, wonderful group. And obviously, our great dear friend, Father Benedict Rochelle, was involved very closely with Chris and his wife and the whole Good Counsel home. So we would, I think, heartily endorse any prayer or financial support you might have for Good Counsel homes. With that, we've got to get right back out to the March for Life, because Teresa's got somebody very important who can only stay there for a few minutes. Teresa.
See him right over there.
That's right. I do have someone very, very important, and it's Jeannie Mancini, who is the director for the March for Life and does a great job every year. And we're, I don't want to say old friends, but we are technically old friends. We go long-time friends, very well said, back to the Archdiocese of Detroit, where Jeannie worked very closely with someone else our EWTN listeners and, of course, a TV audience knows, and that is Father John Mercado from the Archdiocese of Detroit, Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and EWTN Television as well. Jeannie, let's talk a little bit about the situation. Give us a lay of the land of everything that's happened all week long, what it's been like for you watching these horrible weather reports coming in and what was going through your mind.
Well, you know, look, we've marched for 42 years, so we're hearing about the cold temperatures and we're hearing about the snow, but we knew that the march would go on. I mean, we also began to think as the more and more inches were being forecast that maybe this would be more broadcast on TV. So we, again, always have a nice social media campaign. So for all of your viewers out there, you can still March for Life today, but just do it on social media. Use hashtag why we march and tell why you're pro-life.
So how's it going so far in terms of any idea? I know we never have an official number from the city, but I understood last night they had about 9,000 at the Mass. Normally have about 11,000, so that's still a very good crowd. And we know that there are many people who came in early because there are activities going on all week long.
Yeah. Well, the hotel has certainly been very crowded. It looks like there's lots of young people already out here, but we don't have an accurate estimate or anything yet, so maybe later on.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the theme. We discussed this on my radio program. I love it. I think it's one of the best themes you've had. Yeah. Pro-life, pro-woman go hand in hand. How did you come up with that theme?
You know, the March for Life is really an opportunity to educate about the most pressing needs in the culture of life and in our culture at large. And this year we're going to be hearing a lot of erroneous messages about what it means to be a woman, about the so-called false war on women. And the truth is that pro-life and pro-woman go hand in hand. It's not true that to be pro-woman you have to be pro-choice. And so we're going to kick off this year with the March for Life by talking about the intrinsic dignity of women and the fact that pro-life and pro-woman go hand in hand.
And the speakers, a great lineup on the stage. Great lineup.
Very exciting. Carly Fiorina, a pro-life businesswoman who many people have heard of this year. Matt Burke, former Super Bowl champion, wonderful guy and has a great pro-life story, and many, many more.
So good to see you again. I know you got to go, but we'll see you at the front of the line as we always do. We'll be marching for life. Jeannie Monahan Mancini, but Jeannie Mancini.
Right.
Mrs. Mancini, yes. So nice to see you again.
Great to see
Take care. Stay warm today. Of course, Jeannie took over for Nellie Gray and has done a wonderful job, and I'm sure Nellie is smiling down. And Jeannie, I think Doug and Father has really taken the March for Life in terms of social media, and I think even brought more young people into the mix. And Nellie was doing such a great job, and then Jeannie just picked up the ball and ran with it. And so I'm sure Nellie is very proud of her, as we all are too. Back to you.
Exactly, Teresa. And it's amazing how you bring in these Michigan people. Everywhere we go, we hear Michigan people, and now she's a paisan too. So I mean, just keep on working, and we're expanding our pro-life outreach. And I think as Teresa was saying, I think Jeannie really, who's been here many times and has done a great job of working with us, really picked up the torch that was left by Nellie Gray, who was a trailblazer, and really moved it to the next level with the social media, with really engaging the younger people. And I think even from the sense, you hate to use the word marketing, but something like that, pro-life, pro-woman going hand in hand. We were commenting ourselves on how much we thought that was a wonderful, wonderful image, not only the saying, but actually the logo itself and how it's designed.
And we're in an election year, so we're going to be hearing that, as Jeannie mentioned. We're going to be hearing this rhetoric about the war against women, when actually we want to defend women, their dignity, the dignity of their children, that they don't live a life of regret and remorse over what a bad decision can lead to, but that they have, they welcome this child and enjoy their motherhood.
Exactly, and it would be nice in the future if the counter on the bottom there, maybe the abortion counter worldwide, which just went over 10,000, 10,500. We've been counting since about 2.5 hours or so, since we went on the air, 9 o'clock Eastern, with that 77 a minute. It would be nice if what we were seeing was how many lives were being saved, but we don't know that. But maybe they are, and for every baby that gets saved, that's a major victory for the pro-life movement, because every person has an impact on so many other people.
Teresa brought out that there are more pregnancy centers and maternity homes than there are abortion facilities today. So that's a great reason for hope, isn't it?
Right, exactly. And don't forget, as we watch our 43rd annual March for Life coverage from Washington, that tomorrow we'll also be bringing you the West Coast Walk for Life as well as One Life LA. Those events will be happening out there. In fact, we heard some of the people who were hoping to jet out from Washington to be there won't be there, so we'll have some different speakers. Some of our crew, including Peter Gagnon, who was up there in Washington, got out before the storm to help organize our coverage out there. Doug Barry and also your confrere, Father Mark will be out there, and Jim and Joy Pinto, and we've got some excitement because of the One Life LA and also the fact that we're doing coverage on the Spanish side out of our West Coast studio at Christ Cathedral. So a lot of interesting things are happening. Don't forget, you can always follow us on Facebook, Twitter. We're reading some of those on the air. Obviously, there's many ways through EWTN everywhere. Check out our EWTN app at EWTN.com. And don't forget to email us at marchforlife@EWTN.com. Michelle Johnson is manning our social media off camera this year, but we're still posting things on the bottom of the screen as tweets come in, so don't forget about that. And we also, later today after the march, will be able to show you, hopefully, a taped coverage from earlier today of the actual Mass, the Verizon Center Mass. We saw Catherine Zeltner out there earlier today at the beginning of the Mass, so that whole Mass with the homily, etc., by the Archdiocese of Washington will be aired following our coverage of the March for Life. And you can check out EWTN.com for all the times we're going to be re-airing all of these events. This is a pro-life month on EWTN, so lots more ahead. We've got the platform coming up, and Father, as Teresa and Jeannie were talking about, some really excellent speakers and some new speakers.
And Jeannie brought out that this is one great opportunity to educate people on the issues and to understand the issues and the reason why we should all be pro-life.
Right, exactly.
So we have these great speakers that we'll be covering and give them the opportunity to have some airtime and to educate.
And it's great to see someone, a pro-life woman like Carly Fiorina, who's running for president, who's been speaking up for life and hasn't backed away at all, and has been a great voice in taking on directly some of the other people running for president, especially sometimes when you get the man versus woman discussion about abortion or things related to women, it gets discounted right away. So she has that advantage of cutting through that and going right to the heart of the issue. And speaking of the heart of the issue, we're back with Damon and his next guest from Washington. Damon. There's Damon.
Yeah, you know, it's bad enough when Americans shiver, but when the Canadians come down and are shivering the cold, that should speak volumes. We're with the Campaign Life Coalition and folks from Canada, and Kristen Alaimo.
Alaimo, yeah.
Good. Tell us about your organization.
So we're the political arm of the pro-life movement in Canada, and we're here to represent all Canadians, but also we help organize the youth aspect of the March for Life in Canada, so we're here to take some tips back home.
Tell us about that event, the youth and the rally or the march in Canada.
So our march is on Thursday, May 12th, so it'll be a lot warmer than it is here. And yeah, so it's about 3 days of events. The youth organize a vigil, similar to the one at the Shrine, as well as a youth conference. And hopefully we have a lot of speakers coming from around the world. And we have not as many people as you guys do here, but probably proportional to our population.
Very good. And what are some of the things that that brought you into the movement, into that kind of work? And what have you seen recently in the trends there?
Okay, so for myself, I just graduated from university and I got involved in high school. My parents brought me up in a Catholic household, and it was just one of those issues that kind of caught my interest, so I got involved. And currently, I'm witnessing a lot of hope, especially with everything going on in the States and the defunding of Planned Parenthood, and I'm hoping that that translates internationally. So that's super hopeful.
Now we're seeing news here in bits and back and forth as well of the different provinces and things that are happening here to there. What are you seeing in the pro-life, whether legislative or culturally? What are you seeing in terms of in Canada on the life issues?
So in Canada, it's actually interesting. You know, it's really difficult for us to get legislation. We currently have no law at all in any of our provinces or territories But what we are seeing is there's a new youth movement, and so there have been photo ops, there have been a lot of news media stories, and people are noticing that the majority of our movement is young. It's intelligent, and we have real answers to their obviously very real questions about our movement. So it's very hopeful.
Sounds like we're seeing similar things crossing the borders here, both culturally and with the young people. So you guys didn't just walk here, did you? Now, who told me they were cold?
Nah, we're not cold.
Okay, the cameras are rolling now, so they're denying the Canada cold charge here. But what a joy to have you here. What a great privilege and the work that you're doing in Canada. Great witness for us here in the States as well. Anything you're looking to hope to see while you're here for this year's march?
I think we're just hoping to get a morale boost too, to see all the other people who also fight for life, because often it feels isolating, but to see all these people with us and to know that Canadians don't back down, not for the weather and not against human rights and justices. Right, guys?
Yeah. Campaign Life Coalition from Canada. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, everybody. Back to you, Doug.
Very, very good. And of course, anybody who watches EWTN, Father, would know that we cover that March for Life in Ottawa, and we have for several years. Jim and Joy Pinto have been up there anchoring our coverage. We will have it again this year. We work with that particular organization as well as a wonderful producer by the name of Kevin Dunn and his wonderful daughter, who's done some other wonderful programs. He's got a program on L'Arche, Jean Monnier, that's coming up. People can look for that on EWTN. So look for the March for Life in Ottawa. Wonderful Archbishop Prendergast, who's up there, who's a great friend of EWTN as well. So we want to shout out to them. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to hopefully people from the United States attending that march as well. But just like with this particular march, that one's coming up on May 12th in Ottawa, that people can, if they can't attend it in person, they can watch it on EWTN and feel part of it and support those other people who are marching via Twitter or Facebook, and certainly via prayer. So that's an important thing. So it's exciting to see people from Canada.
And you think about that documentary that Kevin Dunn did about L'Arche, and it shows, again, it's nourishing life despite its disabilities or its handicaps that it may have, that all life has a dignity. And you know, I'd spoken before, I think last year, about this woman, Megan Dean, who had been told that she had conceived a child with Down syndrome. And Father Ed Sylvia said to her, this child will sanctify your home, because he had himself a sibling that had Down syndrome.
That's right, he did. Yeah.
And indeed, that was what she discovered, and she wrote this book called Mom, Do I Have Special Needs? Or Knees. And she actually just sent me a copy of that. I wish I would have brought it today, but Megan Dean.
Maybe we'll get that on to bookmark one of these days. You never know. And you talked about at the very beginning the idea of what was said by, I think, Bishop Zubik about starting the day on your knees and ending your day on your knees. So that whole prayer aspect and asking for God's mercy is so important, especially in this Jubilee year of mercy. And now we're back to the March for Life. There's Teresa.
I'm here. Here I am, Doug. I'm here with someone you know very well, beautiful Peggy Hartshorn from Heartbeat International. You always bring the most interesting ladies with you every year because you do Babies Go to Congress. So you've got a few wonderful people with you. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. We bring moms and babies from all over the country to say the pregnancy centers are good for America, to tell their congressman. And this year, we actually have a wonderful mom and her little girl who came all the way from Okinawa.
Get out of town. Well, you can't get out of town. We're not getting downtown until Sunday, but anyway. Yeah. All the way, really?
Yes. This is Tika.
Yeah, we're stationed over there with
our
wonderful. Yeah, my husband's a Marine over there.
And I understand he's watching.
I hope so.
Hello, good husband.
Tika and her husband got pregnant when they were just 17 and 16.
Yes.
They got married. They have not only little Taylor, but now they have two boys and a little girl in the womb.
Yeah.
So we're very excited. She's here to say that without her local pregnancy center in Coos Bay, Oregon,
all over there,
you might not have this wonderful family.
Right. They're great. They're awesome. They provided us with tons of help and parenting classes and baby bus and just the encouragement that we needed as teens. We didn't know what we were doing. So it's a great resource.
These are the stories that people need to hear, because all we ever hear from the other side is that we don't care about the women. And it's like, excuse me, these pregnancy resource centers, I love the work, and you know that I'm one of your biggest fans, because you are miracle workers. They do so much, mostly volunteer.
Absolutely.
And the work, as you said, all the different areas, the help that the moms need, and the dads. You help the dads too.
And you know, Tika is, and by the way, your husband also attended classes there. That's right.
Yeah.
But Tika also volunteers for Stand Up Girl, so
Yes.
that online now at
Yeah.
night in the USA, but
Yes.
daytime there, she can be communicating with other teens and girls, and then Stand Up Girl is connecting them through the Heartbeat Network with pregnancy centers all over.
Now, I understand that because of my Italian heritage, you brought a sister, paisana, with you. Ciao Bella. So tell me about my wonderful Italian friend.
Well, Irene, I want her to introduce herself and give you her last name. She's from Venice.
Yeah.
Venezia, love it. So beautiful.
It's a special city. Yes, I'm Irene from Movimento per la Vita, the biggest Italian pro-life association, and I'm here for visiting my American friends of Heartbeat International and to visit the great pregnancy centers. And I am the leader of young people of my movement with my friend Marco, and we try to organize some big events or big experiences for young people in Italy to spread our culture for life.
I'm just wondering, what impact has St. Gianna Beretta Molla had on your movement? Are they aware of her and her pro-life message?
Yes.
Yeah. In terms of the young people, what gets them most involved in Italy? How do you get them interested in the pro-life causes?
Okay, some of these people are working as volunteers in our pregnancy centers, and some others are involved in some local activities, and they usually organize some meetings in universities or in their towns just to talk about our experiences and to try to make other young people aware about these problems and what we can do even as young people for helping the women and their babies.
If you need any American speakers in Venice, I'm there. I do pro-life talks all the time. I'll come.
Teresa, we have a wonderful program. All of the centers and maternity homes in Movimento per la Vita are part of the Heartbeat International Network, and we were able to send our staff member Jennifer to Italy for 2 weeks to
So that must have been such a hard assignment, you poor dear.
Oh, it was really wonderful. I was really blessed to be part of the 40th anniversary of Movimento per 40th anniversary of Movimento per la Vita conference.
Sat right behind the Pope.
And sat right behind Pope Francis and got to shake his hand at their celebration. And he talked about the amazing work of pregnancy centers and how the people that volunteer at a pregnancy center are so much like the Good Samaritan, serving people unreservedly with all of what they have, and it was a really beautiful and wonderful experience.
So we have kind of our little youth exchange here. That we're learning about each other, one-on-one, person-to-person, relationship to relationship, which is what the pregnancy centers are all about.
And you guys do such amazing work. So good to see you again, my sister.
Teresa.
And again,
Thank
give us
you.
your website so people get more information.
Wonderful. Heartbeatinternational.org. And if anyone needs help with a problem pregnancy, optionline.org. 1-800-395-HELP. 24/7 in English and Spanish.
Well, we love your work. Thank you
Thank
for all
you,
you do.
Teresa.
Thank you, ladies. Ciao, Bella. We'll see you in Venice. And you know, Doug, the message is so important because as Jeannie Mancini, was saying earlier, that there's so many confusing messages, especially in this year, an election year. And one of the things that's so important for people to understand, if you're out there and you're watching us and you're listening to us, please do not believe the lie that the pro-life movement does not care about the women. The work of Heartbeat International, it is an example that they care about the whole family and the whole community when it comes to the issue of abortion and adoption and saving lives and building beautiful families like the families you see here with me today. Back to you.
Right, exactly. And then the international aspect there, obviously, with Venice and Okinawa, which is an island in Japan. You know, and very famous for a battle. I guess there's another battle being fought where there's actually more people clearly being killed in abortion, as we can see on our counter, probably even today, than were actually killed in Okinawa, certainly Americans, 11,680 growing plus in the last couple of hours, 77 per minute. So something for us all to think about. And we got some images just a minute ago. I don't know if we've shown them on the air. It looks like they're getting ready for the rally to begin soon, but we see the crowds growing there. So we're happy to see that the field is filling up as with pro-lifers. And now we go back out to Damon as we get closer to the rally stage. Damon.
Begins, and I'm here with Alex Schadenberg of Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. He's the international relation. We were just talking here about the trends we see in the United States as part of a larger trend of euthanasia, and you laser focus on the euthanasia issue, but in a universal scale.
Yeah, and in the U.S., you've been facing a lot of pressure by the death lobby to legalize assisted suicide. Last year alone, there was 27 states that had assisted suicide legislation or pushes to legalize in some way within their legislatures. And sadly, California voted in favor, and their governor signed the bill. It's a very, very terrible situation. But, you know, I just want to focus on a few things. The other side is trying to legalize assisted suicide and pressure death upon us. But the fact is that it's all about a lie. They're trying to say to us that, you know, assisted suicide is all about this autonomy and freedom, when in fact what it really does, when you legalize assisted suicide, it gives your doctor the right and law to cause your death. It's not a situation like they're saying at all. This is not about my choice, my autonomy. It's about a doctor having the right to kill you, and that is simply not safe. Right now, there was recently in New Jersey, there was a bill that was the Senate decided not to vote on it, so that was held off. But it's coming back in New Jersey. They're right now debating this in New York. They're pushing hard in Colorado. So there's quite a few states, and in Maine too, where they're pushing this hard. And Americans have to be aware that you're going to have to stop this, or it will not be safe when you become sick. And, you know, and they say, oh, well, you know, isn't this when people ask for it? Well, you know, if I'm depressed, if I'm going through a difficult time, there's many reasons I might think about that my life has lost value. But what's terrible about this is this gives you, the doctor, actually the right to cause your death and be involved in causing your death. It's not safe.
So help understand, what are we looking at, either both in the trend that you're seeing, but also what can be done by individuals who are viewing. What is it that we can do in order to address this issue of euthanasia in the United States?
Well, people have to get involved, but they have to be willing to tell their stories. A lot of people have good stories, because the other side's gone through telling these sad stories. And there are some sad stories out there, but there's so many people who have good stories to tell. On top of it, we've been working very closely with the disability community, with the medical community, and all different types of people from different walks of life. This is not an issue that is for, how would you say, religious people alone. It's for everyone to understand how assisted suicide is a threat to your life. But, you know, the biggest problem with it is the culture is being sold a bill of goods, which is a lie. It's a lie. They're saying, oh, I would like to have a choice. Well, when your doctor is involved in causing your death and you're very depressed, when was that a choice? When you're going through a terrible medical time, you need support. You need help. You need a doctor who cares about you and is not going to abandon you to lethal drugs. And this is simply not about choice autonomy. This is about a situation which truly threatens people's lives, and it needs to be stopped.
Alex, we had a interview earlier that was speaking about this quality of life as an ethic versus the respect life, and I'm wondering how you would respond to someone who would say, as you hear so often, why is this a general issue? If somebody wants to choose that, why is that anybody else's concern? How do you respond to that sort of private argument of someone choosing their own quality of life to end their own life?
Well, what I always say is that's a false argument, because in fact it's not a private argument. When a doctor, you see, it's different. As sad as many situations are, this is a situation where people are going to have their doctors now involved with causing their death. So it's not a private situation. When did it become a private situation? When a doctor is now involved with giving lethal doses to people and causing their death. In my own country, my Supreme Court is imposing this on our country, euthanasia, in Canada. They're imposing this on us. So this is not even about our national choice. And on top of it, they're telling doctors you're going to have to do it. It's a ridiculous situation. How is that going to protect people? You know, we have to understand, people don't want to seek death. They're in a truly terrible time of their life. They need support. They need a situation where the doctor says, I won't kill you. I'll help you through this terrible situation. We don't need assisted suicide. We need good end-of-life care. We need a supportive culture.
You know, it's almost, you say 27 states have got some kind of legislation going on in the previous year. That's alarming. That's an alarming number of states at the same time.
What actually is important about that is it's being defeated everywhere. We're defeating these bills one after another, and sadly we lose here. So there's a few states that now have legalized assisted suicide. The other side is constantly on the go. They're trying to pick away one more state. We're defeating it all over the place. So this is not a situation where they say, oh, you know, it's being accepted everywhere. In fact, it's being defeated everywhere. The problem is they gain one state and suddenly, oh, the tide is turning. Sadly, though, California is a big loss. It's not over yet. There's a lot of people working to make sure it doesn't actually, in the end, get into place. They're going to challenge it in different ways. But the reality is we have to tell it what this is about. This is about a doctor gaining the right and law to cause your death. This is not about my choice, my autonomy. That's all a lie. That's the flag the other side waves to make the culture feel like this is what they want.
Yeah, such an important issue that almost is difficult to be engaged in unless you're personally involved in it. And I know many from afar, I know for a fact many from afar look at the issue and they know that it's wrong. How do you engage people into the issue when in fact it may not be something they're immediately working on?
Well, the key is we have to work with people from different points of view. And the most important group to be involved with is the disability community because they have personal stories. They talk about how the culture and the healthcare ethic has changed and how they would simply not feel safe in a culture that allows assisted suicide. And it's about a personal story. It's a personal understanding of how the culture needs to protect everyone's life. And that's what's important. We have to be able to look at someone and say, okay, I might fear a bad death. That might be true. We all might fear a bad death. But do you think that it's safe to do this and allow somebody else's life to be taken? No, that's not right. Not at all. Out of my fear, no, that's not right. I can be taken care of without being killed. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I always think of the quote, and I'm blanking on the source of the quote, but it's if we are insensitive to the beginning of life and allow abortion, or callous at the end of life and allow euthanasia, we have no reason to believe there'll be any respect for life in between. So the connection is with how we live, our youngest and most vulnerable members and our oldest and most vulnerable affects the day-to-day life and how we live.
Well, the culture has to affirm that lives are valuable, even when people are going through difficult disease and difficult conditions. The culture affirms that by saying, I will not kill you, I will care for you, I will not let you suffer, I will not let you be abandoned, I will care for you, I will make sure that you are not someone who the culture is simply saying, oh, I know you're in fear of a bad situation, we'll just give you drugs and kill you off. That's not about autonomy, that's not about justice, and that's certainly not about a culture of life.
Wow. Alex Schottenberg from Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, thank you so much for your work. Thank you for your highlight of that. It's almost dizzying to see the number of life issues that are surrounding a march like this, but at the same time, it's comforting that we're dealing with multiple issues with the same assembly of people, with the same sense and march of rally, of coming together for encouragement as well as education. So Alex, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thank you for your time.
Back to you, Doug.
Thank you, Damon. That's great. I was thinking, Father, while they were talking out there about the idea of the Luciferian, I will not serve, this kind of exaggerated autonomy. I can do what I want to do with my body and my life, and that's why people are so busy trying to disconnect themselves from the Creator.
Versus what Jesus said, this is my body given for you. Right. So that's the two different approaches.
Right, and that great song by Dana that
right.
we had.
We are one body.
Right, exactly, and that this is my body. And also from Facebook, just before we show you some highlights from some other marches around the country, from Veronica, we're blessed with 7 beautiful children. At 43, we were anything but ready to start over. But we knew God would pull us through. Our baby boy is now 3 months old, and our oldest is due to have their child in March. God is awesome indeed, and we pray for them, and we pray in thanksgiving for them making that choice for life going forward. And with that being the case, we want to honor all the people around the country in different places who've stood up for life already by marching. Let's take a look at some of those highlights.
We do have a noise permit, so we can make noise too. This year, we're gonna make noise.
man, that music keeps you going there. I think our director, Steve Beaumont, who likes bluegrass, maybe was involved with the selection of that music. And, you know, we saw some of your confreres and some of our own co-workers marching in Birmingham. And something really, and we saw Joy Pinto, obviously, who's a great leader in the pro-life movement here from the Jim and Joy Pinto show, as is Jim as well, speaking at the beginning. But there was actually a major, I guess, landmark destroyed, right?
Yes, that it was demolished like about a week and a half ago. And so in the march that had typically had to move on the other side of the street at that point.
That was an abortion clinic.
Place. Yeah. That now it's been demolished. And so they stopped and they cheered and they thanked God.
Right. And who would have thought how many years ago? And that was the place that actually was bombed almost 20 years ago.
And you know, last year some 53 abortion facilities closed. That's one a week.
Right, that's amazing. Unfortunately, we're seeing 12,500 plus worldwide abortions just in the last couple of hours. And now we head right back out as we prepare for the platform at the march, but we still got some interviews. Damon, who do you have?
It's me, Doug, not Damon.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. That's okay, it's live TV, no problem. And this is going to be a really fun interview because the camera's going to be going up and then the camera will be going down because we have two very wonderful people with us. Now we have Denise Leopold from not too far from Michigan in northeastern Ohio, and you're with Right to Life of Northeast Ohio, obviously. And then we also have Super Bowl champ Matt Burke, who's one of the speakers today. Let me go to you. Young man, I don't think you're dressed warmly enough. What's up with the open coat here?
Well, you know, I'm a football player, so that means I'm not real smart, and I'm from Minnesota, so that means I'm supposed to be tough.
Yeah, you are smart because you're pro-life.
Well, that's true. That's true. Even though I've been hitting the head a lot, I am pro-life, obviously, and this is just it's a fantastic event. Even though we're all freezing, you know, just you can just feel the energy and feel what's going on here. It's just amazing to be a part of.
What does it mean to you as a Catholic and as a dad to be here?
It's very important. I mean, obviously for my wife and my daughters, you know, I think being pro-life is a statement that I'm protecting them, and I think also for my sons, it's telling them that it's their job as men to stand up for the dignity of all women, but especially those women in their lives, their mother, their sisters, and their future wives.
Will that be similar to the message you're going to give today in the rally stage?
Yeah, they only gave me 2 minutes. You know, I haven't given a 2-minute speech, I think, since I was in 8th grade. So you know, hopefully, but it'll be something along those lines, and obviously with just everything going on here. I mean, it feels like, honestly, I woke up this morning, it felt like game day to me. I mean, I was so excited and just so just can't wait. So obviously, the Holy Spirit will just have to take over, and we'll see what those 2 minutes are like on stage.
Oh, you're going to be fantastic. It was great talking to you on the radio yesterday too. Don't go anywhere yet. How important is it, Denise, to have men like Matt out there for young people, for everyone, for role models?
Very important. It's very important because we work with a lot of young people, and they need role models to look up to that are in everyday life. And I mean, football's a big part of my life, and it's a big part of my kids' life, and I know they would look up to somebody like that. So it's great to have people that are in public, you know, stand up for the pro-life cause. So it's
and
wonderful.
We're so excited because we have several affiliates in your area, so radio affiliates. What about your work? What are the big issues you're working on in that area of Ohio?
We work very closely with a media campaign that reaches women now in crisis pregnancies and gets them connected with life-affirming resources. So, you know, we can work to change laws and we can work to change hearts and minds, but we have to reach the lives that are affected now, and that's been very successful in Northeast Ohio. We're very proud of that.
And we're glad to help you with our affiliates out there. I know we cover a lot of the events, so thank you so much. And Matt, good to see you in person, and we'll see each other this summer in much warmer weather in Austin, Texas at that wonderful marriage conference that we're doing with the Alexander. So look forward to that. Nice to meet you in person. Keep up the great work. And tell all the Buckeyes I said hi.
Hi. Well,
okay.
And the Browns fans.
And the Browns fans. Back to you in the studio, Doug.
Very good. Thank you so much, Teresa. That's definitely Teresa. That's not Damon. And thank you so much for that wonderful interview. And Father Joseph was just commenting, obviously, on Matt Burke and how important it is, especially, I think, to see, for young men, to see someone who's a role model, that kind of a football player from Minnesota, a guy who was been a Super Bowl champion, 15-year veteran, recognized at the 2011 NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year. Walter Payton was a great man on and off the field. Named to Pro Bowl 6 times, the 2013 Super Bowl winner with the Ravens. And this was the thing that you pointed out. I'll read it. Following the Ravens' victory, Matt chose not to participate in the White House Super Bowl celebratory meeting with President Obama because of the president's support for Planned Parenthood, a decision that received significant media coverage. And we want to thank him and his wife, Adriana, for standing up for life. He's got 6 kids, and it's great because it's that kind of thing, I think, for young men especially, or men anywhere, to realize that one can be a man and stand up for the faith and stand up for life, as our great friend, the coach Danny Abramowitz, with Crossing the Goal, has always tried to make people clear about, and men to understand that they have a responsibility. In fact, they're the spiritual head of their family, and they have, in many cases, abandoned that role.
It shows that you are to have principles. As men, we are to have principles that we stand by, we're willing to suffer for, that there's something greater than just our own, selfish desires. At work, we stand on principles of what is truly good and stand up and to defend them. That's the man's role, to protect his family and so on.
Right, exactly. And we are covering, of course, the 43rd Annual March for Life, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Even though the clouds are threatening, the weather right now is okay. But obviously we've seen an impact on the number of people who we know are coming to the rally, though the images we have of the rally, which maybe we can show you some more sites while we're talking, you can see the number of people. People are there, and we will have an incredible lineup, including Carly Fiorina speaking, and Matt Burke and others. As Matt said, he'll be talking very quickly. I think one of the things they've tried to do over the years is try to get as many pro-lifers up there who deserve the opportunity of people seeing, because they're the people who are standing up all year long for life.
So they feel supported because they're together in a camaraderie for life and defending the good of life. I saw that sign, probably you've seen that already, where it says, "Abortion, neat, quick, easy way out for men."
And well, that's exactly right. And unfortunately, I think it's fair to say, in many cases, some of the downsides of the women's movement, which has had certainly some positive things in the sense of equality and opportunity and jobs and things like that. I think all of us would agree that those are wonderful things. It has been this kind of ability for men to basically take no responsibility for anything, to just basically say, well, you're equal with me, so that's your problem. I'm not obligated to do anything. And unfortunately, the culture doesn't not support that in many ways, as weird as that seems.
It's teaching men to be irresponsible, to use women. And that's basically what the culture is teaching, both with contraception, and then the majority of abortions are actually from failed contraceptive use. So it's like a backup sort of contraceptive.